The video segment that you are about to watch is of a 7th grade global studies classroom. Students are using explicitly taught social and digital literacy skills in order to deepen their content knowledge.
The task itself centers on a website called GapMinder. GapMinder is a great resource that can be used in both middle school and high school classrooms. It visually organizes information and then shows how those data points fluctuate over time. I currently have it set to show life expectancy and income per person. And as I play the timeline, the bubbles, or different economies or countries around the world, slowly move together towards the top right. After explaining the premise of this project, students were then asked to partner off and play the GapMinder timeline in entirety several times through. Once groups identified an outlier, they were then supposed to research what causes deviation from the normal movement and connect their findings to ideas that we've studied throughout the year. Students were encouraged to do this research separately and only come back together to discuss their findings. If groups wanted to, they could ask the teacher to facilitate this discussion, or they could do so independently. The group that we're going to listen into had an interesting take on what their deviation they were going to focus on. Instead of just focusing on one particular country moving away from the general pack, what they noticed is that when they played the timeline, that in 1918, all of the bubbles seemed to drop at the same time. So what they decided to focus on is what caused that momentary drop around the world in life expectancy and income per person.
Why were some of the reasons why the bubbles went down?
Well, World War I ended,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people lost their homes, and a lot of people lost work because of it, because they needed, because a lot of people were drafted, so they had to go to war, and then a lot of people died, and a lot of buildings were destroyed, so they didn't have places to work, and yeah.
So that would affect how long they lived.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the label used for how much money you make a year?
GPD per capita.
Yes, so the amount of money. And so if you're dying, people are destroyed, that goes down. Okay. Xandria, what did you decide in your research?
In my research, I decided on the Spanish flu.
Okay.
And it was really deadly. There wasn't really a cure, and probably not enough doctors to to help.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hospitals, they had a lot of sick people, and if in some countries they're more poor than others, so they probably don't have different floors, and so everyone's probably together, which is getting people who are probably already sick, making them more sick and killing them.
And so you combined in areas that had World War I and had the flu. How would having both those things going on at the same time cause the bubbles to drop to cause more people to die? How would that happen?
Well, people from World War I, like Amelia said, their homes would get destroyed, then they would have to go live in shelters.
Mm-hmm.
And people who were probably already living in shelters were probably sick. And that would kill more people that came from their homes being destroyed, and then kill also the people who are already in the shelters.
And then, so if you're living in a shelter, what are some things that you would have to share?
You would have to share probably clothes,
Mm-hmm.
and a bed, probably, maybe.
Water.
Yeah, food,
Bathroom.
supplies.
If there's enough, or if the bathroom works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what are you guys going to use? So you found these two different reasons of why the bubbles went down. What are you going to kind of create with the information and research that you gathered?
With the research that I gathered, I'm going to make a Prezi explaining how it was affected.
Okay. What about you, Xandria?
With all my information, I'm going to create paragraphs in OneNote and about the Spanish flu.
Okay.
And
Awesome. Do you need anything else from me?
No.
Okay.
Effectively implementing rigorous tasks in the classroom is about finding a balance between structure and autonomy. I provided structure in several different ways throughout the course of this project, including providing a common resource called GapMinder for students to kind of start their project and get ideas to that they can then build off of in their research. Students over the course of the project also use social skills that we practiced, including debating ideas rather than the people that are in front of them or arguing against them. This really encourages civil discourse with eliminating some of the peer-to-peer conflict that may arise. Students also needed to go through and prioritize what they're reading on the internet, figuring out what is worthwhile, what relates to the project or to the problems that they're researching, and kind of be able to sift through and remove resources or documents or websites that are not at grade level or that are not valid. Over the course of implementing different rigorous tasks, I have figured out or have come to the realization that when you offer students voice and choice throughout the project, but also the culminating product, you tend to see more buy-in. So as long as students demonstrate mastery, the medium in which they choose to do so is up to them. And so what I usually do is I usually put the standard in front of them, and then we kind of brainstorm different ideas. And so this year I had students write out demonstrated their understanding through writing. They went and created like PowerPoints, they created prezzies, they created YouTube videos. But the sole purpose, though, is regardless of their choice, that they go back through and they need to make sure that they demonstrate the standard. And finally, if you have not done so, I would really encourage going and exploring GapMinder. It is a great resource for not only 7th grade global studies classrooms, but also across content areas and also in the middle school and high school levels. I'm including a QR code at the end of this video. I'd go ahead and just pause and scan it, and it would definitely be a great resource for you to go ahead and explore.